Elon Musk warns Millionaire about the danger hidden behind black homeless person and Donald Trump. The news exploded like wildfire. Headlines screamed it. Elon Musk, the tech giant himself, dropped a bombshell warning a young billionaire about a shadow lurking in the city. A black homeless man. And somehow, Donald Trump's name was tangled in the message. Strange, right? Impossible to look away. Lucas Monroe, one of the youngest billionaires in the city, barely had time to blink before the message landed in his inbox. A cryptic, almost frantic email. Watch the man you pass every day. He sees what you don't. Trump's shadow isn't just politics. It's personal. Danger is closer than you think. The words rattled Lucas like a sudden gust swooping through a packed street market. His heart pounded and sweat slicked his palms. Who was this homeless man? How did Elon Musk know about him? And what did Trump have to do with any of this? The city itself seemed split in two, glass towers shimmering with wealth right next to streets choked with shadows and grime. Lucas lived right where luxury screamed in gold and glass. But that same city swallowed millions alive on cracked sidewalks. The homeless man, Samuel, was out of place, yet somehow right in the thick of this opulence. Lucas spotted him for the first time outside the upscale cafe where he usually met investors. Samuel's clothes hung like tattered flags, his eyes sharp and unreadable under the brim of an old hat. "Hey!" Lucas called out. His voice trembled, half curiosity, half fear. Samuel didn't flinch. Something about him was bulletproof, like he carried scars no eye could see. "Why are you here?" Lucas asked, stepping closer, anxiety knotting his gut. Samuel's voice was low, rough, like gravel grinding. "I've got stories. Stories your family buried." Lucas blinked, his chest tightened. Stories buried sounded like secrets waiting to explode. Could this man really know the truth behind Lucas's own bloodline? Meanwhile, the streets whispered with dark rumors. A ruthless investor was watching, someone who thrived on power and knew exactly what Samuel knew. They wouldn't hesitate to silence him. Lucas felt eyes burning holes through the glass walls of his penthouse. Every step he took seemed monitored, every breath hunted. Now, standing just feet from Samuel, Lucas faced the heaviest choice of his life. Protect the man who could bring everything crashing down? Or side with the system he secretly despised, the one that made his fortune, but also fed the divide, tearing the city apart? Samuel leaned forward. His breath smelled like dust and wildfire. "Your family's past isn't just dirty, it's poisonous. And if you don't act, they'll bury you with it." Lucas's head spun. His phone buzzed relentlessly. Messages, calls, threats hidden behind polite words. Then Samuel dropped the next bombshell, voice quieter this time. "There's a betrayal no one sees coming. Someone close, maybe closer than you think." Lucas's hand shook. A cold dread gripped his throat. Would trusting Samuel cost him everything? Or could this dark truth be the key to something better? Something real? Outside, the city's cold wind howled. Somewhere close, the ruthless investor smiled, waiting for the fall. Lucas swallowed hard. His world was tipping. Secrets chained him tight. And time was running out. What was Samuel hiding? And how deep did the betrayal in Lucas's own bloodline go? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Haha, Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like that really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Lucas's heart raced, caught in a whirlwind of fear and uncertainty. Samuel's words hung in the air, a heavy silence wrapping around them like a thick fog. "You need to know," Samuel began. But before he could finish, a loud crash echoed down the street. People on the sidewalk jumped, heads turning toward the sound. Lucas's pulse quickened. He scanned the area, spotting a black SUV screeching to a halt. The driver's side door flew open, and a figure stepped out. Rugged, powerful, and unmistakably familiar. "Rex!" Lucas gasped, recognition crashing over him like a wave. Rex Harland, the ruthless investor rumored to be after Samuel. Rex had been a mentor once, a man who had taught Lucas everything about the game of wealth and power. Now, here he was, storming toward them, a storm cloud of rage. "What are you doing with that dirtbag?" Rex growled, eyes narrowing on Samuel. The crowd whispered, fear buzzing in the air. Lucas felt their eyes on him, judgment and curiosity entwined, as if he stood at the edge of a cliff. "Rex, wait, let's just talk." Lucas raised his hands, trying to keep the situation from escalating. But the investor's temper flared. "No, you're too deep in the muck with this one." Rex took a step forward, and Lucas felt panic clutching at his throat. "He'll drag you down with him. You don't want his kind around." The words spat like venom, cold and stinging. Lucas's head spun. Samuel shifted, but something flickered in his eyes. Indignation, perhaps. But under that, fear danced. "Maybe I'm the only one that can save you," Samuel replied, low but confident. "You think he's on your side, Lucas? He's playing you like the fool you are." That hit hard. Lucas's chest felt tight, every breath a challenge. "What's that supposed to mean?" he snapped, unsure if he was more angry at Samuel or at Rex's looming presence. Suddenly, there was movement behind Rex. A second SUV pulled up, doors swinging open. More men in suits, eyes cold and hard, poured out. The tension thickened, a palpable heaviness suffocating the air. What was happening? "Move aside!" Rex barked, gesturing sharply to his men. They advanced, surrounding Lucas and Samuel, cutting off any escape. "Lucas, I can't hold this off," Samuel whispered urgently as panic stole his voice. "You need to trust me, or it's all over." In that moment, Lucas felt the ground shift beneath his feet, heretofore invisible strings unraveling, revealing a web of deceit. The rumble of the city faded, swallowed by a monstrous realization. He had brushed aside Samuel's warnings, but now they loomed large before him. Rex took another step closer, finger jabbing toward Samuel. "You don't want to know what he's hiding. He's dangerous, Lucas. His past isn't just dirty. It's connected to your family. You really want to know the truth?" Lucas's heart plummeted, whispers swirling in his mind, memories breaking open. Could it be true? Could this man standing before him, living on the streets, Know something that would shatter his entire world? Then, with a sudden crack, glass shattered in the distance, a gunshot ringing through the chaos. Everything froze. She shot. Someone yelled from the sidewalk. A woman screamed and panic erupted. In that split second, Lucas's world splintered. He turned to Samuel, whose eyes widened as realization hit. "They're coming for both of you," he shouted, desperation tinging his tone. Cold dread washed over Lucas, clear and chilling. He had no idea what lay ahead. One thing was certain: secrets were spilling and no one might emerge unscathed. "Trust me, Lucas," Samuel urged, his voice nearly lost in the growing chaos. Lucas looked back at Rex, whose expression morphed from anger to something darker, something that hinted at betrayal. Outside, shadows danced on the pavement, and the city held its breath, a secret storm on the brink of exploding. What had Samuel meant? What was Rex hiding? And how were all their fates now interwoven in this moment of chaos? Samuel's gaze bore into Lucas, each word thick with a weight that felt like the city's very air. "They'll bury you with it." Lucas's heart raced. Would trusting Samuel cost him everything? He fought to catch his breath, each second stretched like a taut wire. Then chaos erupted. A distant explosion shook the ground. Windows rattled. People screamed. Sirens wailed. "What the?" Lucas stumbled back, shock flooding his veins. The cafe's glass facade cracked, spiderweb patterns exploding outward. Panic swept through the streets like a tidal wave. "Get down!" Samuel barked, pulling Lucas close. They ducked behind a metal awning, the world spiraling into madness. Smoke billowed, filling the air. The scent of burning rubber, the acrid bite of ash. A flurry of voices crying out, fear magnified by confusion. Lucas's mind raced, thoughts colliding. What just happened? Then, in the chaos, Lucas spotted him. A figure darting through the haze, his face familiar, yet unrecognizable. Harper, the man who had been Lucas's mentor, guiding him through the treacherous waters of Silicon Valley. But now, fear twisted at his features. "Lucas!" Harper shouted, eyes wide with urgency. "We have to go! It's not safe here!" "What's going on?" Lucas shouted back, his voice cracking. He felt utterly lost, each minute slowing down like molasses. "Breach! They're targeting us!" Harper's words crashed into Lucas like thunder. "The investor! He's connected! They're coming for you!" Before Lucas could process the words, a figure emerged from the smoke. It was a man dressed in a sharp suit, slicked back hair glinting as he stepped into the light. Lucas's gut twisted. It was Donovan Pierce, the ruthless investor who had haunted his nightmares. The shadow behind the empire that had built and destroyed so many dreams. "Lucas, you shouldn't have gotten involved." Donovan's voice was smooth, chilling. "You've unraveled something beyond your comprehension." Lucas felt the ground shift beneath him. Everything Samuel had said, all the buried truths, now spiraled together like a black hole, ready to consume him. "Samuel!" Lucas spun, but in the chaos, Samuel had vanished. Just gone, like smoke in the wind. "Stop right there!" Harper lunged, blocking Lucas from Donovan. But it didn't matter. The tension in the air flickered with danger, crackling like electricity. Without warning, the ground trembled again, this time closer. A low hum filled the atmosphere, something unnatural. Lucas's heart thundered in his chest. Then it happened. A blinding flash sliced through the dreary gray. An explosion of color, sound, and chaos. Everything froze in place. The air felt charged, electric. Lucas's mind raced. Was this the end? In that instant, shadows stretched towards him, reaching for the truth he never wanted to see. "Look behind you." A whisper curled through the air, and Lucas turned just as a massive building behind him began to collapse, the world crumbling around him. Harper's cry pierced through the chaos. "Run!" But Lucas stood rooted, caught between the ghosts of his family and a reality exploding into flames. Would he trust the shadows, or would he let the weight of his bloodline crush him? The choices felt suffocating. And just as everything spiraled out of control, silence fell. An empty void swallowing the noise of the chaos. The city was still, but the danger, it was palpable. What lay ahead? Betrayal, truth, or something even darker? Lucas's mind raced, spinning webs of uncertainty. He felt the world shift, and everything he thought he knew fractured at the edges. The chase wasn't over. It had only just begun. The silence shattered. An eerie stillness enveloped the chaos, like a sudden pause before a storm. Lucas could barely breathe. The world felt suspended, caught in the moment before an explosion, when everything was stacked high with tension. Then it hit. Bam! Another explosion rocked the ground. Not far behind him, the cafe windows imploded, showering shards of glass like deadly confetti. Screams erupted, but Lucas didn't flinch. He was transfixed by the calamity unfolding around him, his heart hammering in his chest. "Run!" Harper yelled again. His voice was desperate, urgency cutting through the din. Lucas turned, the haze of smoke thickening between them, but he could see Harper's face, a mixture of dread and resolve. The distant echoes of sirens were like wolves howling in the night, and then he felt it. A rush of cold air, a whisper. "Don't trust anyone." Lucas recoiled, confusion flooding his mind. The world dimmed around him. Was that Samuel's voice? What had he meant? Before he could think, a figure lunged from the haze, crashing through the veil of chaos. Samuel? No, it was Rex. Face twisted in fury, clothes torn, he barreled toward Lucas, eyes ablaze. "Lucas!" he shouted, panic lacing his tone. "You need to understand. There's more at play here than you realize." "What do you mean?" Lucas yelled back, fear mingling with anger. And then another explosion. This one closer, much closer. It felt like time folded in upon itself. Lucas instinctively ducked, adrenaline surging with every thudding pulse. "Is that your family in danger?" Rex shot back, his brow furrowing. "You're not safe. This is because of them." The words struck Lucas like a brick. His breath hitched. "What are you talking about?" Rex paused, eyes darting nervously. "They're pulling strings. You've been a pawn in their game, Lucas. And Samuel knows everything. He's the key." Just then, Lucas felt a sudden shift on the ground, a vibration that surged into his bones. He looked back toward the street and saw a massive armored vehicle barreling toward them, dark and immovable, tearing through the wreckage. "Step back!" Harper shouted as he pushed Lucas aside. But Lucas didn't listen. He was paralyzed with shock. Before him, the dust began to settle, And in the midst of the wreckage, something stirred. A massive figure stepped into the little light that filtered through the smoke. Lucas squinte, tratando de entender la forma. Familiar! Demasiado familiar! And then it clicked. ¡No! La figura se mueve cercana. Cada paso revelaba la contorna de un hombre que Lucas creía Longwea, un fantasma de su pasado. Alguien que nunca se esperaba ver de nuevo. Lucas, su padre más aborrógicamente. El odio y la confusión clashan en su interior. Voz bomba. Voz bomba. His voz temblaba, friante de rabias y traición. No for long. Ya estoy aquí. Every breath burned his throat. The truth shook him. The man who had caused his family to fracture now stood before him. A phantom made flesh. What do you want? Lucas asked, forcing himself to speak, even as his hands shook. I trusted you were dead. Things are worse than you think, his father replied, stepping closer, revealing the scars of survival etched across his face. Samuel holds the details. You don't even know your own history. The world spun. 1,000 questions raced through his mind. Stop! Rex shouted, placing himself between Lucas and his father. He's playing you. It's a trap. Time froze again. Good. He trust this man who had once taught him everything? Or was he waiting for Lucas to take the bait? Suddenly, gunfire erupted. The crowd gasped. People screamed. Lucas turned just in time to watch men in suits storming forward, weapons drawn, faces hard and cold. Donovan's men. The ones he thought were just shadows. I'm not finished here, his father yelled, but the looming presence of Donovan pierced through the smoke, sinister and calculated. Everything was spiraling. Anger, confusion, betrayal, twisting into a knot within him. Lucas's world narrowed. He stood at a crossroads. Trust the father who left, or the mentor who raised him in ruthless ambition. Then a scream pierced through the noise, sharp and clear. Lupus, we have to move, now! It was Harper. He looked pale, eyes wide, fear evident. But who could he trust? With secrets emerging from every corner, shadows dancing in the wreckage, Lucas's heart raced. The world around him held a deadly question. What else was buried beneath the chaos? Lucas felt his pulse quicken as Samuel's words hung in the air. Betrayal? Secrets? His mind raced. What did this man know? What could he possibly reveal about the family that had built his empire? The city around them blurred into a backdrop of uncertainty, its wealth and glamour suddenly feeling suffocating. Let's talk somewhere private, Samuel said, glancing around. His eyes darted, cautious. As they turned down a narrow alley, the noise of the street faded into the distance. The air felt heavy, alive with tension. Your family, Lucas. They're not just investors. They're players in a game that goes back decades, Samuel continued, his voice dropping to a whisper. Money's not the only thing they've built their fortune on. Lucas swallowed hard. He was stepping into a world he'd only brushed against. His family's legacy felt like a fortress, unbreakable. But Samuel's words began to crack that facade. What lies beneath those polished floors and gleaming walls? Tell me, Lucas urged, his voice shaking slightly. What do you know? But before Samuel could reply, a shout echoed from the street. sharp and sudden. "Get away from him!" The commanding voice pierced through the alley, and Lucas turned to see a group of men rushing towards them, faces masked in anger. Panic clawed at his throat. He recognized the insignias on their jackets. The ruthless investors' goons! They were out for blood. Samuel stepped in front of Lucas, fierce and unyielding. "Run!" Samuel shouted, his voice cutting through Lucas's shock. The warning jolted him into action. They sprinted down the alley, feet pounding against the cracked pavement. Lucas's mind raced, confusion squeezing his chest. Why was Samuel protecting him? Did he really know something crucial? Just when they thought they lost the pursuers, a sound like crackling thunder broke through the air. An explosion! A dumpster near the entrance of the alley erupted in flames, sending debris flying. "Go! Keep going!" Samuel yelled, pushing Lucas ahead. A sense of urgency wrapped around Lucas like a vice. He had pushed onward, adrenaline pumping through his veins as the world turned chaotic. But then, before he could comprehend his surroundings, a flash of silver caught his eye. A figure darted from the shadows, striking Samuel hard. He fell to the ground, eyes wide in disbelief. "Samuel!" Lucas screamed, rushing back. But his feet felt rooted, terror keeping him from moving. The attacker pulled down the mask, revealing piercing blue eyes, eyes that sent chills through Lucas's entire being. It was someone from his past, someone he thought he'd buried long ago. "You shouldn't have poked around where you don't belong, Lucas," the person sneered, their voice dripping with malice. "You've opened a door that should have stayed shut." Lucas staggered back, his heart racing. This was more than just a family secret. It was a conspiracy, woven through his very existence. Who else was involved? Had he been living a lie? Two shadows approached from behind. The investors' men had regrouped. They circled like predators, closing in. In that moment, everything changed. Lucas realized the truth wasn't just about his family. It was the underground he had unknowingly walked into. Samuel wasn't just a homeless man. He was a key, a part of a larger game. And now, everyone would pay the price. "Get out of here!" Samuel gasped, his voice raw, struggling against the weight of betrayal weighing down on them. But Lucas hesitated, torn between fear and an urgent desire for answers. What lay ahead was uncertainty, swirling like smoke in the darkness. As the figures closed in, Lucas felt the world tilt. The lines between loyalty and betrayal blurred. The city's shadows danced with secrets. He had to know the truth, whatever it might cost. And as he stood there, caught in a web of chaos and fear, he understood nothing would ever be the same again. What was hidden in the past was clawing its way to the surface, set to change everything. A storm was coming, and he would have to face it head on. Lucas's heart raced as Samuel's words hung in the air, thick with gravity. The weight of secrets pressed down like an anchor, threatening to pull him under. Betrayals, buried pasts. It was all too much. He barely caught his breath, his stomach churning. Who is this betrayal?" Lucas stammered, his voice shaking. The shadows of the city loomed larger, each passing moment filled with a creeping dread that gnawed at his insides. Samuel leaned closer, his eyes glinting like shards of broken glass, secrets swirling within them. Trust no one, not even your family. Just then, a commotion broke out behind them. A group of suited men appeared, sharp and relentless. Their faces were masks of cold determination. One of them yelled, "Lucas, we need to talk, now!" Lucas's blood went ice cold. They were from his father's firm. He could feel their eyes boring into him, reading him like an open book. Panic gripped him. What did they want? Was it about Samuel? Lines were drawn in the dirt. Wealth, power, family. The choice felt like a noose tightening around his throat. Go! Get out of here! Samuel's voice cut through, urgent and raw. No, I can't just... But before Lucas could finish, a sharp crack split the air. A gunshot echoed through the streets, sharp and fateful. Lucas turned. Chaos erupted. People screamed, scattering like startled birds. The suited men shouted, looking for cover, their game plan tossed into disarray. His heart raced. Was someone targeting him, or was it Samuel? When Lucas turned back to Samuel, he froze. The man was no longer there. Instead, a flash of light caught his eye from the alley to his right. A hooded figure hurried past, with something gleaming in their hand. Samuel!
Lucas caló, panicuraiciendo como vile. He touched the debris on the sidewalk, his legs moving before his brain processed the danger. But the alley swallowed him, and the chaos faded behind him. In the back of his mind, he felt the sharp tang of betrayal. Had Samuel led him here? Was he part of this mess? Rounding the corner, Lucas collided with the hooded figure. They stumbled backward, and with a swift motion, the hood fell back. Gah! Revealing a familiar face. A face twisted in fear, yet strikingly serene. Lucas? It was Samantha, his estranged sister. The one he had thought lost to the family's cutthroat legacy long ago. You need to listen to me. There's a lot at stake. They've been watching you. Lucas's breath caught in his throat. Was this the betrayal Samuel spoke of? This was impossible. He fought the confusion clawing at his chest. Samantha, what are you doing here? He could hardly hold on to reality. Why didn't you? I had to hide. I thought they wouldn't find me, but they're coming for you now. For both of us. The shout of sirens in the distance grew louder. Lucas felt the walls closing in. Danger was everywhere now, like a noose tightening around his mind. "Stand with me!" she shouted over the approaching noise. But Lucas hesitated, the truth wrapping around him like a serpent. "I don't know if I can trust you." Then, from the depths of the alley, Samuel emerged again, his eyes fierce with urgency. "Lucas, you have to decide. Will you fight, or will you be consumed?" Before he could respond, a flare of gunfire lit up the alley, like fireworks in a night sky, and everything erupted into chaos. Shadows chased shadows, friends, family, foes, all tangled in a web of danger, thicker than he ever imagined. Lucas stood frozen, torn between two worlds collapsing in on him. What choice would he make? Who would he trust when the truth itself felt like a fog, twisting and elusive? Lucas Sapan camada en su mente. Vetración. Secretos que podría pobre Anusayaco saber de su familia. El aire creció cálido, cargado de algo inamable y terrible. De repente, un gasto de viento salió de la calle, metiendo la basura alrededor de los pies, como si la ciudad y misma estaba tratando de presurirme.
Who are you really? Lucas pressed, searching Samuel's worn face for answers. But instead of a response, he saw a gaze that felt like a mirror, reflecting his own fears. Samuel leaned back slightly, a knowing smile tugging at the corner of his lips. You think you know your family, Lucas? Think again. Before Lucas could form a reply, a loud commotion erupted a few blocks away. Sirens wailed, cutting through the buzz of city life. An urgent scream of chaos clawing at the edges of their conversation. Lucas turned instinctively, his legs already moving toward the sound. Samuel grabbed his arm, urgent and fierce. Don't go! But it was too late. Lucas shook free, propelled by an unseen force. As he sprinted toward the noise, his mind raced. What was happening? He pushed through gathered crowds, eyes glued ahead. Then he saw it. A group of onlookers, mouths agape, phones raised like shields against a sudden truth. Bodies shuffled in panic. There, lying in the street, was a familiar figure, the ruthless investor who had haunted Lucas's dreams. His suit a stark contrast against the asphalt. But what froze Lucas was the red stain blooming across the investor's chest, spreading like ink in water. The world blurred around him. Someone call an ambulance! A voice shouted, but Lucas didn't hear it. His own breath caught in his throat as adrenaline coursed through him. The ruthless investor, the man behind so many shady deals, was dying. But more than that, there was something strange in the way he lay there, the unnerving calm on his face. As he fought his way closer, something caught Lucas's eye, glinting in the sun beside the investor. A small, silver chain with a pendant shaped like a shield. The very same shield that had hung around. It couldn't be. Lucas! Samuel's voice broke through the fog of confusion. Raw and desperate. This is what I meant. In that moment, a scream erupted from the crowd. People fell back, parting like water. And there emerged a woman, drenched in shadows, breathless with rage. She rushed forward, eyes wild, locking onto Lucas with a fury that sent chills racing down his spine. You did this. You're part of it. Me? He stammered. Panic clawed at his gut, squeezing every ounce of air from his lungs. Her voice rang with bitterness, filled with accusation, and something deeper, something personal. Yes, your family's poison runs through your veins. You're the enemy here. Lucas stumbled back, a wave of confusion rolling over him. The city swirled around him. Every face turned, horror written across them, but the woman's gaze pierced through the crowd. Was this just the beginning? Suddenly, Samuel was at his side, fierce and intent. We've got to go, Lucas, before they realize who you really are. The weight of those words crashed over him, overwhelming. What was happening? Who was this woman? And what did Samuel know? The world spun, caught between answers he couldn't grasp and questions that felt like chains tightening around his soul. The unseen danger morphed from headlines and hushed whispers into his reality, a nightmare wrapped in shadows. Time was running out. Lucas felt the cold steel of betrayal closing in like a vice, and he had to decide, run or fight back. But with so many secrets unraveling, he didn't know where to turn.
He glanced back at the scene, the investor's lifeless eyes emptying the last vestiges of his past, and the woman's accusatory stare, shocking clarity. Everything was shifting, and he stood at the edge of a precipice he didn't see coming. His breath quickened. What if the truth was more dangerous than he ever anticipated? A whisper of doubt tickled his thoughts. Who could he trust now? As chaos enveloped him, one thing was sure. The next decision he made could shatter everything he thought he knew. Lucas's heart hammered as Samuel's words echoed in his mind. Betrayal, secrets. What could the homeless man possibly know about his family? The air grew thick, charged with something unnameable and terrifying. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept through the street, sending trash swirling around their feet, as if the city precipice. But instead of a response, he saw a gaze that felt like a mirror reflecting his own fears. Samuel leaned back slightly, a knowing smile tugging at the corner of his lips. You think you know your family, Lucas? Think again. Before Lucas could form a reply, a loud commotion erupted a few blocks away. Sirens wailed, cutting through the buzz of city life. An urgent scream of chaos clawing at the edges of their conversation. Lucas turned instinctively. His legs already moving toward the sound, Samuel grabbed his arm, urgent and fierce. Don't go, but it was too late. Lucas shook free, propelled by an unseen force. As he sprinted toward the noise, his mind raced. What was happening? He pushed through gathered crowds, eyes glued ahead. Then he saw it, a group of onlookers, mouths agape, phones raised like shields against a sudden truth. Bodies shuffled in panic. There, lying in the street, was a familiar figure, the ruthless investor who had haunted Lucas's dreams, his suit a stark contrast against the asphalt. But what froze Lucas was the red stain blooming across the investor's chest, spreading like ink in water. The world blurred around him. Someone call an ambulance, a voice shouted, but Lucas didn't hear it. His own breath caught in his throat as adrenaline coursed through him. The ruthless investor, the man behind so many shady deals, was dying. But more than that, there was something strange in the way he lay there, the unnerving calm on his face. As he fought his way closer, something caught Lucas's eye, glinting in the sun beside the investor. A small silver chain with a pendant shaped like a shield. The very same shield that had hung around his mother's neck in old photographs. It couldn't be. Lucas! Samuel's voice broke through the fog of confusion, raw and desperate. This is what I meant! In that moment, a scream erupted from the crowd. People fell back, parting like water, and there emerged a woman, drenched in shadows, breathless with rage. She rushed forward, eyes wild, locking onto Lucas with a fury that sent chills racing down his spine. You did this! You're part of it! Me? He stammered. Panic clawed at his gut, squeezing every ounce of air from his lungs. Her voice rang with bitterness, filled with accusation, and something deeper, something personal. Yes, your family's poison runs through your veins. You're the enemy here. Lucas stumbled back, a wave of confusion rolling over him. The city swirled around him. Every face turned, horror written across them. But the woman's gaze pierced through the crowd. Was this just the beginning? Suddenly, Samuel was at his side, fierce and intent. "We've got to go, Lucas, before they realize who you really are." The weight of those words crashed over him, overwhelming. What was happening? Who was this woman? And what did Samuel know? The world spun, caught between answers he couldn't grasp and questions that felt like chains tightening around his soul. The unseen danger morphed from headlines and hushed whispers into his reality, a nightmare wrapped in shadows. Time was running out. Lucas felt the cold steel of betrayal closing in like a vice, and he had to decide, run or fight back. But with so many secrets unraveling, he didn't know where to turn. He glanced back at the scene, the investor's lifeless eyes emptying the last vestiges of his past, and the woman's accusatory stare, shocking clarity. Everything was shifting, and he stood at the edge of a precipice he didn't see coming. Then the sky darkened. A booming voice echoed through the chaos. "Is this what you wanted?" Lucas's blood ran cold as a massive figure stepped into view, shrouded in darkness, yet unmistakable. It was his mother, fought lost, vanished in the shadows of his family's past, and now there she was, face twisted in determination, eyes blazing with unyielding fury. "Mom?" The single word slipped from Lucas's lips, barely a whisper. "Step aside," she commanded, her voice slicing through the confusion. The woman glared at Lucas's mother. You put this all in motion." "Enough!" his mother shouted, her voice carrying authority that silenced the crowd. With a sudden swipe of her hand, the pendant sparkled in the flashing lights, and Lucas's heart pounded violently. The pieces had shifted without him even realizing, and every breath he took felt heavier, as if the truth hung right above him, ready to tumble down. "Lucas, you need to listen," his mother continued, extending her arms. "No one is who they seem, and I swear you'll regret not trusting me." The tension crackled in the air like electricity. Everyone was watching, holding their breath, waiting. Lucas felt the nausea churn in his stomach. The very fabric of his reality was unspooling. What lay behind his mother's words? Was he prepared to hear the truth? Everything he had built, a life, a family, a fortune, teetered on the brink now. Would he leap into the abyss or grasp for a rope? He stood still, a storm brewing in his chest. The path ahead shimmered with danger, every heartbeat counting down to an inescapable fate. Lucas stood frozen, his mother's commanding presence shaking the ground beneath him. The air buzzed with tension. The woman's furious gaze pierced through the chaos, an accusation hanging between them like a thick fog. "Mom?" he shouted, disbelief flooding his mind. "How can you be here?" "Enough hesitation. We're out of time," she said, urgency flashing in her eyes. Just as Lucas opened his mouth to respond, a single gunshot rang out, crisp and sharp. The crowd's collective gasp filled the air, a shudder of fear rippling through them. Lucas turned instinctively, his heart dropping as he saw the suited men rush back, weapons drawn. They were like wolves, circling their prey. "Get down!" Samuel shouted, pushing Lucas away. The impact sent him sprawling against the wall of the alleyway, his breath caught in his throat. Was this where it was all going to end? "Why did you come back?" Lucas yelled, the chaos closing in around him. His mother's face twisted into something unrecognizable.
full of fierce determination, but also regret. "I didn't have a choice," she screamed, the weight of her words landing heavily on Lucas's chest. "It's been too long." Before she could finish, a loud crash echoed, and a car veered off course, barreling down the street. The world slowed, eyes wide in horror as it swerved toward them. It was like watching a train wreck in slow motion. The impact was thunderous. Metal crumpled against brick, glass shattered like rain, and the cries of shocked bystanders filled the air. Lucas shielded his face, the debris coming down like deadly rain. In the chaos, when the smoke cleared and people shuffled in shock, Lucas caught a glimpse of something on the pavement. It shimmered for a moment, catching the fading light. Heart racing, he stumbled forward. There, lying amidst the wreckage, was the pendant he had seen earlier, the one belonging to his mother. But it was tangled with something else. His breath caught. Next to it was a blood-stained letter, partially unrolled. He reached down, heart pounding, grabbing it before the chaos could consume him. It was addressed to him, written in familiar handwriting. His father's. "Lucas, if you're reading this, it means everything is falling apart. Trust no one, especially your mother. She's been lying to you." The words hit Lucas like a punch to the gut. He turned, eyes wide, scanning his mother's expression. Her face paled, the color draining like a gust of wind sweeping across her. "Mom, what is this?" he breathed, the paper trembling in his hands. "Lucas, I can explain." But suddenly, from behind, the hooded woman reappeared, her voice dripping with venom. "You think you know the truth? You're just a pawn. You never left the family game." Her declaration echoed off the brick walls. Lucas felt everything he knew unraveling. It was as if the ground he stood on had turned to quicksand. Then, from the smoke, a figure emerged, a man he recognized. It was one of Donovan's enforcers, his face twisted with anger, a gun now aimed straight at Lucas. "Don't move!" Everything snapped into chaos again. Lucas dropped the letter, the world spinning. His heart raced in erratic beats, louder than the gunfire. His mother stepped forward, instinctively throwing herself in front of him. "No!" Samuel shouted, but it was too late. The shot rang out. Time stuttered. Everything slowed. Lucas felt his breath hitch, a deep-rooted fear clutching at his chest. But then, silence. His mother staggered back, eyes wide, shock staining her features. She looked down. No blood, just a moment of confusion. The bullet had narrowly missed, but reality shifted abruptly as she turned to face Lucas, her gaze darkening. "You need to leave, now!" Something was off. The weight of everything hung heavy. The truth was cracking open, pieces of lies and half-secrets swirling around him. He barely recognized her. Who was she really? A siren wailed in the distance, igniting urgency in the air. With the crowd still stunned, Lucas couldn't afford to linger. Something was wrong. Everything was suddenly suspicious, and he had to know more. He grabbed the letter again, clenching it tightly in his hand. "I'm not going anywhere until I understand." But the woman's eyes glinted with fury. "Choose now, Lucas, before it's too late." The city held its breath, shadows shifting all around them.
Trust shattered like glass. Lucas felt the walls of his world collapsing as new mysteries emerged, twisting everything he thought he knew into a knot of uncertainty. And beneath it all loomed the truth, waiting, unseen, dark, and insistent. Lucas felt uprooted, his heart racing as tension crackled in the air. The hooded woman's words hung between them, heavy and loaded. Time stood still as he looked between his mother and the woman, fear twisting like a knife in his gut. "Why were you never honest?" Lucas demanded, voice trembling. "Why now?" "Because it was never safe, Lucas," his mother replied, raw emotion spilling from her. "Not for you, not for any of us. Your father tried to keep you away from all this." "But I have the right to know!" he shouted, frustration bursting out. "I need to understand." The suited enforcer from Donovan's crew took a step closer, gun still raised, but his hands shook slightly. The crowd behind them murmured, uncertainty hanging heavy over the scene like a storm cloud. "Step down, or you'll regret it," his mother warned, stepping in front of Lucas, defiant. Lucas's heart beat louder, drowning out the chaos. She was all he had left. But was she even on his side? The woman hissed, "Everything has a cost, Lucas. You have no idea what's really at stake." With that, an explosion of voices erupted from the crowd as more men emerged, their intentions clear. Samuel, still at Lucas's side, shouted, "Run!" "Out of my way!" the woman yelled, lunging forward as chaos erupted. The street shook with fear. Bodies jostled, people screamed. A wave of panic washed through them. The enforcer hesitated, and in that moment of confusion, Lucas saw an escape route. It was a slim opening, just enough to slip through. "Mom, come on!" he yelled, grabbing her hand. Her grip tightened for a brief moment before loosening. "No, Lucas, you have to choose. Trust your instincts," she shouted, steeling herself against the oncoming storm. Dread filled his chest. "But I don't know who to trust." Then the woman lunged, lost in the chaos. Lucas staggered backward, just missing her grasp, and he realized she wasn't there for him. She had a different agenda. A shocking revelation rocked him. As quick as lightning, Lucas turned and ran with Samuel, heart pounding against his ribs. They raced through the narrow alley, past torn posters and smoldering debris, sounds of destruction echoing behind them. "Look out!" Samuel shouted, just as the gunfire erupted again. A bullet whizzed past Lucas's ear. He ducked instinctively, heat from the muzzle flash lighting up the alley. "Faster!" Samuel yelled, and they bolted down a side street, lungs burning. At the far end, a sudden clap of thunder rolled through the sky, and darkness fell like a curtain. Lucas turned, checking behind him. Was his mother safe? Was anyone watching them? But there was no time to ponder. As they burst into the open, amid clusters of panicked people, a massive figure blocked their path. Rex. His eyes were wild, a mixture of relief and anger. "Lucas, get out of here, now! It's not over!" The urgency in Rex's voice jolted Lucas back into reality. "What do you mean?" he gasped, eyes wide. "Donovan, he's playing you! Your family's tangled deeper in this than you realize. Trust no one." Every warning hung in the air, mixing with the metallic taste of fear. Lucas felt chains falling. Pieces of the puzzle clicked together.
Lucas, Samuel breathed, urgency flickering in his gaze. We can't stay here. We must go where it's safe. With his heart in his throat, Lucas hesitated. What was truly safe? Had anything ever been? Then, against the roar of chaos, he heard it. The low rumble of an engine growing louder. A vehicle, but not just any vehicle. A black, armored SUV. He turned back to Rex. What the hell is going on? Ooh, your choice. It's up to you to decide who you trust, your family or yourself. Rex's words echoed in his mind, heavy and grave. The SUV stopped short, and the doors flung open. A familiar figure stepped out. A woman Lucas recognized from his past. A ghost returning to haunt him. It was Donovan's twin sister, her face fierce with determination. Lucas, come with me, she called out, gesturing rapidly, urgency igniting her voice. We don't have much time. This is your chance. Confusion clawed at him, threatening to engulf him whole. Trust her, Samuel urged. Why should I? I just met you. It's better than staying here and becoming part of their games. Lucas looked at Samuel, then at Rex. They were fractured pieces of a chaotic world. But now they were at the crossroads. Now, Lucas, the woman called again, desperation rising in her tone. With 1,000 thoughts racing through his mind, he took a step forward. Destiny loomed like a thunderstorm overhead. The ground shifted beneath him, the shadows swirling with uncertainty. He took a deep breath, realization washing over him. Stakes were higher than ever, but he had to leap into the unknown. Gripping Samuel's arm, and with a final glance at Rex, he sprinted toward the SUV. A decision swirling in the air. The world around them echoed with the past, present mingling with uncertainty. The moment was electric. This was it. Their final chance to reshape the chaos into something different, something real. And as the doors slammed shut, the engine roared to life. The city faded in the distance. Secrets had been unearthed, and they were leaving a fractured world behind. A new storm brewed, and what lay ahead felt unknown and frightening. But this was only the beginning. Lucas took a deep breath. The weight of hope and fear tangled within him. You have to subscribe now. This is where the adventure continues. Don't miss the exclusive stories coming your way, or you might find yourself lost in the dark. Smash that like button now so I know you're part of this journey. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories, because I want to hear every thought. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to know how this all ends. Let's spread the word. Don't wait, even.